Good morning. Hey. My name is Mary. I'm a software engineer who works with Flutter.
And I'm Will. I'm a software engineer in material design.
Today we'll show you how building an app with Flutter and Material is expressive, enhanced, and a delightful developer experience.
And we'll do it for both Android and iOS, but build it once using Flutter.
Flutter is a way to build native mobile apps. You can build apps that are expressive and flexible, create high-quality experiences, and iterate quickly. You can use Flutter today. It's already being used by developers and organizations around the world. Flutter comes pre-built with a large library of widgets, such as containers, list views that are efficient, scrolling, gestures, and more.
Now, Material Design is an adaptable design system backed by open source code that helps designers and developers make beautiful, usable products faster. It's a visual design system used in millions of apps and sites all around the world. What's new this year is material theming. Material theming helps you systematically apply brand throughout your designs. As you can see, material is more flexible than ever. The shape, color, typography, the animation curves are all customizable to match your brand. You can even choose color palettes from our online color generator that are generated for you, and typography themes. You can even change the shapes in your app to have a theme of their own.
Well, I love how this is taking shape.
Right, yeah. And I'm excited to announce today that Flutter is a first-class platform in material design. From today forward, you'll find documentation for Android, iOS, web, and Flutter throughout Material Components, the Material Tools Suite, and the Material Guidelines.
So it sounds like Material and Flutter have really embraced each other. What's it like building an app with them?
I'm glad you asked, Mary. Let's see how they work together. And a reminder, you can do everything that we're about to do at home today. Behold Shrine, our retail app. I love the clothes, I love the home goods, but unfortunately, the UI is disturbingly last season.
Who else has seen an app like this?
Yes, I think we all have, Mary.
Yep, Google Docs. They look very similar. When Material first came out, many apps faithfully followed the Material guidelines. And so they ended up with apps that looked identical to each other. Or worse, they looked like Google's brand rather than their own. We want your apps to look like your brand.
Material theming helps with that. It applies consistent brand elements throughout your UI.
So let's apply Material theming to Shrine and show how Material on Flutter is expressive, with its customizable widgets, layouts, and themes.
Enhanced with new components and styles like our text fields and backdrop.
And delightful, offering developer tools and easy extensibility of components.
Now, what is a widget? In Flutter, a widget is pretty much everything. They're your buttons, your cards, your text fields, all your views are widgets. You can also compose your own widgets from existing ones, and we'll show you how to do some of that today, too. Material Components is a library of widgets that are expressive, enhanced, and delightful to work with.
So we'll start by building this app. We've already built it. We're going to enhance it now. It is built with the default theming and doesn't have any of the latest of Material.
So let's look at the guidance our designer gave us. It's a font, logo, shape, layout, and color.
OK, great. Let's start with the color theme.
Mary, will you code?
Yes.
Thank you. I will stand here and talk because I crave attention. So we've already used a lot of Material components to build the unthemed app. So we've imported the Material Flutter package in all of our apps files. We have the unthemed app running in the emulator. Here's Shrine's login page. And here's its home page. Both of those pages are routed to the screen by the Shrine app widget. This is what gets passed into the main function, which is run when we start our app. It's the highest level widget in our project. It returns a Material app widget in its build function. Let's take a look at that Material app widget. Its home property is set to a homepage widget, which we've built just for Shrine. There's also a theme property, and you can pass in a theme data in the app's constructor. All the descendant widgets of the app will have this theme applied to them. Let's look at the color theme our designer gave us. The color theme has most of the colors you need in an app, like primary and secondary colors, background, and a surface color for things like modals. It also has the colors you need for text and icons that are drawn on the primary, secondary, background, and surface colors. There's even a primary variant for any time the primary color is against another color, and that combination is inaccessible. We've already copied the Shrine color values into a color constants file for convenience. You can see little swatches of the colors on the left side next to the line number. By the way, material icons will also appear in this way. The material package already has predefined colors like colors.red, but Shrine's designer is using custom branded colors like millennial pink and brown. Mary started a theme already. She's going to add those colors to it. These are the colors our app will use on a global level. She started with a light theme, and now she's changing some of the values. She's adding a primary text theme from a function that she built herself. It's going to use as a base the existing primary text theme, and then it's going to change one of the values to be brown. Now she's adding an icon theme. She's going to again start with the base theme and then change the values that she wants to be different. Copy with, by the way, is a very common method that you'll see on a lot of Flutter widgets. It allows you to copy an instance, but change whatever parameters you put inside. Now she's going to set the button color throughout the app for raised or contained buttons. Reload.
What do you think?
It's better. No more blue. Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
So let's work on the font on those titles, please. She's going to set a custom font for large type, like titles and headlines. I always thought that font family sounded so wholesome. It's a slight change, but at least it matches our logo now. It's not default rubato for larger type. Now to the login screen. So the login screen itself is a widget, and every widget has a build method. In it, you construct your UI. Our build function has a safe area widget, which can account for the notched top on a lot of newer phones. Inside, we have the logo, the text fields, and buttons in a list view. We could have used a column widget, but the list view automatically handles scrolling on smaller screens and when the keyboard appears. These are all widgets provided by Flutter. Note that the build text field function Mary and I wrote returns a widget. This is directly called in our build function. We can even pass in our own parameters to this function. It's not a static layout. Right now, the text field is automatically using the global color theme's primary color as its active color. And you can see when she's typing, the floating placeholder and underline decoration are not very accessible. We could change our global theme's primary color, or we could change just the primary color of our text field to the primary variant. Each widget can override their ancestor's theme by being wrapped in a new theme. If we highlight a widget and press Alt-Enter, a shortcut menu appears, and one of the common shortcuts is wrapping a widget with another widget. We'll wrap the text fields in a copy of the theme that has the primary variant as its primary color. Now you can see what you're doing. Our material theme also has a shape story that's angled based on our logo. Mary's setting the shape of the next button to the beveled rectangle border widget. This is a component that Flutter provides out of the box. It takes the size you want the cuts to be and returns an octagonal outline. As you can see, the button is now 8-sided. By the way, if you're working without a designer or you're a designer yourself, we now have a tool that can help you generate palettes of colors for theming. Imagine we didn't have a complete brand guideline, but we had a color that we were already using consistently or wanted to use more consistently. You can go to this website, material.io/design, and it can suggest complementary palettes and extended tonal palettes to go with that color. So, just for fun, let's see how Shrine would look if it were built from charcoal. We added some colors earlier in our color constants file. Mary's changing to an alternate theme function that uses those colors. See? Very different alternative theme, very easily. Now let's go back to the real theme. So, we've seen how color and shape can express your brand, but what about layout? Well, our designer has read the new guidelines on image lists and cards and decided to make an asymmetric layout part of our material theme. At the moment, our products are displayed in a simple grid of cards with images, and this is the default for grid view. Our designer wants it broken up into threes with asymmetric alignment and aspect ratios inspired by the angles in our logo. It's a custom design just for our app. We're going to use a completely custom widget called Asymmetric View Widget for asymmetric layout that we made earlier. It's based on the list view widget in Material Components. By the way, you can find the source code for everything we're doing today in the Material Flutter Code Labs. Mary removed the grid view widget we had and inserted our asymmetric view widget. Since the asymmetric view is built on top of a Flutter list view widget, the widgets are recycled as we scroll. Flutter list views let you specify the scroll direction, and we've set it to horizontal. The asymmetric layout code is less than 100 lines. It's a very expensive-looking component that's, oh.
What? What's going on?
I have that scarf.
Well, you have every scarf.
Yes, thank you, Mary. Anyway, so Flutter lets you develop in one code base, but deploy to both Android and iOS. The app is looking great, and I want to see how it looks on iOS, so let's switch places.
Sounds good.
We'll be using the iOS simulator for the rest of our development to show how easy it is to switch between the two platforms. You just set the device selector to iPhone simulator.
OK, great. So Will has just shown us how you can express your brand in your app. Now I'll talk about how the enhancements to Material can help make your app stand out and make it easy for you to use existing components and use guidance to build components that, well, also express your brand. The first thing Will's going to add is an outline input border to the text field. Right now, our text fields just have a line on the bottom saying it's a text field. The outline input border wraps the whole text field with a border, making it obvious that it's something that users can fill in. Now, you might be wondering, how do we have any proof that this is a better design system or that Material Design is a great design system? Well, we did a lot of research, and it turns out that these types of text fields are much more performant, and users are more likely to see them in a busy form. They know that it's a call to action. So that's why we're using it here. You can also watch the talk Measuring Material to learn more about material research. That looks great, but it doesn't look as edgy as the Shrine brand really is. You don't cut corners with Material Design unless you're using a cut corners border. This border literally cuts the corners off of your text field's outline so that it can match the button and it can match our Shrine logo. There, it looks octagonal, looks great. Will, we can see your password.
Oh, you shouldn't be able to know that my password is Yas Research.
Yeah, so the text fields come with the built-in property obscure text, and now we're passing in our own Boolean isPassword so that we can hide our password. As I said, we built our text fields using our own function, and it returns a widget, and we can just pass that right into our build function. Great. Now that we've spruced up our login page, let's see what we can do on our home page. Our home page currently is one page with a menu bar. What we want to do is add a backdrop. A backdrop allows you to have two layers in your app. It's an intuitive way to display both a menu and some content, rather than having a menu pop in from the side. Will's going to remove the app bar from our current version because the backdrop comes with an app bar. Will and I built the backdrop ourselves, but it came entirely from guidance by Material Design. They have a lot of specifications for how you can do layouts and what sort of navigation can exist. After he's done that, he's also going to remove the home page from our home property in our Material app and replace that with the backdrop. Now, the backdrop is essentially just a stack. A stack is a way of layering various components on top of each other. For example, a footer. Here, our backdrop has a front panel and a back panel, and they're stacked on top of each other. The front panel is our home page, and our back panel will be a menu page. So let's see how that looks. It has the Shrine edge. We added that as well. Let's try clicking on the icon and seeing whether or not it goes up and down. No, because we have not implemented that yet. OK, so let's do that now. And to do this, we need to use a transition or animation. We're going to use a positioned transition. Essentially, this is just a way for the parent to tell the child, hey, you're my child widget. You start off at this size and location, and you'll end up at this size and location. For this case, we want to animate from closed, which is the bottom, to open, which is with the whole home screen open. So let's start with the panel animation. Now, this animation is of a type relative rect. So this is the way you tell your animation that it wants to start off with a certain location and size and where it should end. It takes in a begin and an end and a controller. So Will's typing that out now. We've already predefined what the panel height and the height of the app bar should be. And also, we need to pass in a controller. The controller is responsible for orchestrating the actual animation. Every frame that is drawn is determined by it. We now pass the panel animation into a position transition widget. Flutter comes with a lot of different transitions. For example, fading, rotation, scaling, and much more. They come out of the box, so all you have to do is use them. It takes in a rectangle property, which is our animation, and it takes in the child, which is the child we want to animate up and down. So let's try animating. There we go. Now, back to the animation controller. As I said earlier, it's responsible for drawing the new frames. Well, let's take a look at it. This comes out of the box with Flutter, and this is the code that is used. It's open source. You can see that it animates from the values 0 and 1. You know how I said that Flutter comes with a lot of animations already? Well, you can also build your own if there's something really custom you want, and then you map your widgets to these values 0 and 1 while they animate. OK, so the material guidelines also suggest that for a backdrop, that users would like to tap on the top. You've switched to the Android phone.
I know I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. It's live. It's loading the iPhone simulator.
Just tab out to the. Oh, OK. There we go. Back to the backdrop version. Anyway, so the material guidelines say that you want to tap on the top of your backdrop in order to animate up and down, as well as tapping on the app bar itself. Currently, tapping on the top doesn't do anything. We now add a gesture detector. Flutter also comes with a lot of gesture detectors, like on tap, on drag, on long press, a lot more. They're meant to be extensible. They take in a function. Functions are first-class objects in Dart. And this means that we can pass in any function and have your tap and gesture do anything you want. Show, hide, change a variable, other things like that. So Will is now setting that up and putting a parens after the 2. There we go. Now when you tap on the backdrop, it should animate.
Oh, Mary, I did it wrong. Classic Will.
That's OK.
Help me debug.
Oh, that's OK. Well.
Oh. There we go.
All right, cool. We're all set. Great. Well, now you've seen how all the enhanced new things from Material have helped us build an app that is much more enhanced and, well, kind of cool and much more unique. Now we're going to talk about how delightful the developer experience is. Sometimes someone gives you code, and you want to make changes to that code. For example, right now, our image and our text are very close together. We want to put some space between the two. So you can look at the image and admire the goods, and then look down and see the price tag. How do we do that? Well, we can use the Flutter inspector. The inspector maps between the UI and the exact line of code where that widget was being created. Now Will is going to demo the inspector. You just tap on the inspect button, and if you tap on anywhere on your app, it will pop up a box, and this box will then take you to the exact widget for that app. Currently, we are tapping on that, and it shows that, well, I think your inspector is running for.
It doesn't want to show the widgets, but we've got the render tree.
OK, the render tree is a much more detailed version of your widget tree. It shows literally every single thing that is being drawn, whereas your widget tree only shows the widgets that you've drawn. And not only your widgets, but also widgets that are being drawn by part of the system. Your widgets are drawn in bold color. And if you right-click, you can jump to this exact line of code. Well, here, we'll know that this actually points to the product card, which is responsible for drawing the actual card with the image and text. So let's check out our product card widget. Remember, this was given to us, and we didn't build it. Although technically, we did build it. All right. Inside the product card, there are two functions, build image and build text. They are arranged in a column. We want to put space between the two. We look at our column, and note that it says cross-axis alignment is center. There's no main axis alignment. Through reading the Dart docs or through trying stuff out, usually even checking in the inspector, which shows all the properties that are being defined, you'll find that our main axis alignment is set to start, even though we never actually set it. What does main axis alignment mean?
Main axis alignment is the direction you want things to begin in the scroll direction. So
all right.
Starts the top.
So it seems like our image and text are all going to start at the top. Let's try changing that to center so that inside the space allotted to our product card, maybe our text will center itself rather than align itself to the beginning. There's a little bit of space, but that's not enough. Let's change that to end. We want more space. There, that looks much better.
That looks good.
Now you can see your image and text with some space in between. Well, while we're here, let's also change our image aspect ratio. Currently, the images have an image aspect ratio. I want it to be 1. I want my images to be square. OK, that looks great. But who here has had a cat walk across their keyboard? There's more than that, I'm sure. All right, well, cats are the #1 cause of typos in code. It's a proven fact.
It's true. I've actually never made a mistake in code. Even today, it was a cat.
OK, so let's say a cat. Nate, what's your cat's name?
Nate.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, all right. Wait. Why Nate?
He's my concatenate.
OK. All right, that's a classic,
You
right?
loved it.
OK. Well, let's say Nate the cat negated the aspect ratio. And so now it's -1. What happens? Your app's going to crash, right? Because it's -1. And it's still, the compiler accepts it because it's still a float. But no, only the part that the widget that has a -1, the aspect ratio widget, crashes. Everything else still works. Your app still scrolls. You can still go to the menu. So now let's just change that back and reload, and let's see what happens. There. All right, all fixed. So this is one of the cool things about Flutter. We've been making changes, and they've been loaded really quickly. Only the widgets that are being changed are being redrawn. We've been restarting the app in this demo, but earlier you saw the colors would show up immediately. Asymmetric layout showed up immediately. We did not have to restart the app. So you could easily backtrack and rebuild UI and try things out. And if it doesn't work out, that's OK. You don't waste that much time. Also, navigational state is being preserved during hot reload. A couple of other cool things. We've been auto-formatting our code as we've been building, and also you can add closing labels to your code. These closing labels tell you what widget has just finished. Let's see what it looks like. There, see, now you know you have a text, you have widgets and columns. This way you can tell what those braces mean. Great. Well, I think that looks pretty good. What do you think? I think it looks lovely.
Yeah, I don't think it looks anything like the generic blue app we had when we started.
All right, well, let's come back here. All right. So let's recap. We just revamped an outdated app with material design and Flutter.
Material theming and the asymmetric layout showed how expressive our app can be.
The new text fields and backdrop showed the enhancements to material components that you can use today in Flutter.
And all the Flutter tooling made it a delightful experience for us developers.
You're used to seeing people give you custom, complicated designs, and you want to work on them, but they're just going to take too much time. But with material components, your designs and code live in the same world.
With Flutter's support for material theming, it's no big deal if your designer suddenly says, let's change everything that's light blue to dark blue. You might not have to say no to your designer anymore. We want you to spend less time on boilerplate and more time building the things that make your app special.
So you should import the Flutter material package today. Also, be sure to check out our code labs, where you can code everything we talked about in this talk. They're available online and in the code lab at I/O.
Also, check out the talk, Total Mobile Dev Made Fun with Firebase and Flutter at 2:30, and build reactive mobile apps with Flutter.
We're going to be here after for questions and in the sandbox from 2:30 to 6 today.
Everything else you need is on flutter.io and material.io.
Now, go code beautiful UI with Flutter and Material.
Thank you.